my name is Lindsay Thurston and welcome to my YouTube channel. Just in case you're watching, in today's video, I'll be sharing a long list of DIY art projects to transform your space. I don't know about you, but I've been spending an awful lot of time at home lately, and the more that I look at the art on my walls, I'm getting a little bit bored. I'm a second grade teacher and I love to have super expensive looking, beautiful design in my space, but I can't always afford the price tag of some of my favorite retailers. That's why I'm sharing DIY art projects that you can create super cheap, super fast, and will make a super big impact in your home. I've got a list of art projects for pretty much every skill level and including a lot of materials that you might even have lying around your space. Each item that I use in making these projects will be linked below in the description box, just in case you feel inspired to try one of them yourself. Before I begin, if you are looking for a channel to help you create a home that makes your day every day, this is it. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. That way you won't miss any of my future videos. All right, let's get into it. So for this first project, we're gonna start out super easy. All you need for this is a picture frame and an old calendar. So all I did was open up the picture frame. This is one I actually had laying around the house. We had another picture in it, but time for a change. All I did then was pull out the glass, lay it gently over the picture. Then I go ahead and lay the frame over it just to make sure it looks good, looks centered. Of course, I could measure it to get it perfect, but this is just a quick project. And then finally, I'm gonna trace around the piece of glass with a pencil. That way I can erase and start over if I really hate what I did. Go ahead and carefully place the glass back in the frame. Now I'm gonna quickly cut this thing out. Clean the inside of the frame with your favorite glass cleaner. Simple as that. I like to use a flathead screwdriver just to save my fingernails. And look how pretty that looks at the end. So simple and free. For project number 2, again, so simple. So you might remember I thrifted this coffee table book and removed the old tattered cover to reveal a beautiful black, neutral book to add to my coffee table display. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and cut the cover up. Rather than recycling this, I thought that picture's really pretty. That might look cool in a picture frame. I'm gonna use a little cutter this time. This one's from Fiskars. I love it because it's flat and I can easily throw it into my storage closet in my office and then easy access when I need it. I also love how precision the cutter is. It's so sharp and removable, and then there's one of those little wires that goes straight down and shows you exactly where you'll be cutting. So I'm just trying to get this very straight, easy to pop into my frame. I'm gonna cut off all the text because I don't want that in my image for the picture frame. Once I've got it kind of ballpark, now I'm gonna decide which frame I'd like to redo. This is a Ribba frame from IKEA that I bought several years ago now for my previous apartment. And I'm excited to use these in a new way. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull out. This style of frame actually has a little shadow box insert. So if you wanted to make this into a shadow box, another reason why the Ribba frame is probably my all-time favorite picture frame. It's cost-effective and you can use it in so many different ways. And some of them even come with matting. So taking out the old picture, I usually use Scotch tape to put my pictures into the matting. That way I can easily cut them out. And now I'm just going to position my matting in a way that crops the photo in a way that I find pleasing. One thing I tried to do was go back and look at the original composition and keep it as close to what the artist intended. Now I'm gonna go ahead and trim it down a little bit just so it fits within the perimeter of my matting. And once it's just right, double check it. Then I'll be securing the image into the matting with Scotch tape. I put it on all 4 sides so that it lays nice and flat. Don't forget to clean the inside of the glass with your favorite glass cleaner. Put the picture back inside. the shadow box insert and the back. Check that it looks great. And then using that flathead screwdriver, close it up. And now you're all done. Look how fresh that looks. All right, so for project number 3, you're gonna need a lot more materials. This is a rehab project on some frames I found at a recent trip to the thrift store. So I'm using some spray paint and primer, an upholstery tool, painter's tape, a flathead screwdriver, needle nose pliers, wire cutter, and of course a sanding block. So I'm gonna get started by using my flathead screwdriver to cut away any back paneling in the frames. And I'm also using my upholstery tool and flathead to pull up the nails that were holding up the back of this particular frame. You'll notice a lot of these thrifted frames have already been sort of made over by the previous owner, so you might have some sort of strange nail work. These definitely had a lot of that, as you'll see in this footage. Toss that old artwork. I'm just gonna carefully pry up both layers of matting. I'll be recovering and painting and doing some cool things with those in the next project. This one was really hard to pull apart, you guys, because the double frame, or the double matting, excuse me, was actually made by 2 frames sort of jerry-rigged together. I had to pull off all this extra like paper and glue that the previous owner had used, but finally got it going. Sandpaper is gonna really help too. So now I'm gonna toss the old artwork and just keep going with this process for the other 2 frames. Now, each one of these was a little bit different. This one was held together with, looks like packaging tape, again with a lot of nail work. So I'm prying all those up. Again, ditching that artwork. You get the drill, same process. And again, I'm just gently sliding my hand between the 2 layers of matting to gently separate them. Don't worry if you've got some glue marks. I have that too. It's gonna be covered. So now I'm gonna use my sanding block to give the whole outside of the frame a gentle sanding so that the primer and paint have something to stick to. Next, I'm going to use Clorox wipes to go ahead and just get rid of any sawdust, dirt, debris, so that they're all ready for painting. Let them dry for a moment, then spread them out evenly on a big piece of cardboard. Primer and metallic gold spray paint, both from Rust-Oleum. Love these products. I can't say enough about this gold color, you guys. It is absolutely gorgeous. Now you might be wondering why I'm spray painting gold frames gold. The reason is because I want to hang them together as a grouping. And I think what's going to really unite this set of frames is painting them all the same color. I had to give this group of frames just obviously 1 coat of primer and then 2 coats of the gold metallic spray paint. All right, a little sneak peek of the art project. I'll be sharing this later in the video, but for now I'm going to show you how I made some new backs to these newly refurbished frames. So I actually used this shipping material from Target frames that I purchased, just the cardboard, to trace and cut out the exact shape of the previous backings for each of the 3 frames. And this is just going to give a lot more stability as I close them up with my new artwork inside. Using my flathead screwdriver to very carefully press those down into the cardboard to hold the picture in place. And then the last step is just to relocate the hanging hardware so that it can hang in the portrait style of the art that I created. Make sure to put something down to protect a table or floor surface, and there you have it. Another alternative to using any kind of nails is just to use standard tape you have around the house. This is a tape from Scotch. It's a paper tape. It's a lot stickier and stronger than masking tape though. Once that's all done, I'm going to go ahead and add some hanging hardware. Now the last picture frame was by far the hardest to work with, so I started by tracing the picture frame on some leftover cardboard. Then I'm going to go ahead and cut it out, sit on the back. I'm actually going to secure it with a few dots of hot glue. That will help to keep the cardboard backing in place while I finish things off with some brass finishing nails. Now the last step is to put in these little loop screws so that I can add some picture hanging wire. That actually one of them seems split the wood on one side. So I had to pry it open with my screwdriver, tape the cardboard to patch it, look for an area of the wood underneath the cardboard that was not split and was good to go, and then reinsert that little loop screw. Now I'm going to use the wire that I had laying around. I'm actually out of picture hanging wire, so this will have to do. I try to overshoot the length of it by about half the width of the picture and then loop it through, and I'm ready to hang. All right, next is one of my all-time favorite, super simple DIYs to make your frames, even thrifted ones, look super expensive. Here are some of the tools that I will be using in this project. You'll definitely need spray adhesive, need the matting from the frames that I thrifted that I will be covering in fabric. And then I have a variety of fabrics that I've collected from thrifting, sales at my local Joann fabric store, and even a hand towel I found on clearance. So funny. So I'm gonna go with this kind of plain utility fabric, and then this piece is actually a piece I thrifted, just a fabric remnant with some cool stitching on it. I'm just gonna center the matting right around the pattern. Not much of the pattern will show, just in these sort of between each side, but I kind of like the look. It just gives it a little bit more texture and makes it feel a little more custom. Spraying down a thin layer of that spray adhesive. This is a product from Scotch that works awesome. It's super sticky, so be very careful. Make sure that you're in an area that you don't mind getting a little bit of fine dusting of that. Cut off the corners. Now before I spray anything, I want to cut the inner portion too. So I just poke a little hole, a little distance from the corner with my sewing scissors. Again, this is a pair of sewing scissors by the brand Kai. They are extremely sharp and great on any fabric. And you can see then as I cut about an inch distance from the matting and then a diagonal into each corner, not right up on the corner, but just shy of it. That way I have a little leeway in how I fold that piece over when I secure it. So the center portion is gonna come out entirely, and then you can see I'll have the same little tabs that I'll be able to spray my adhesive down on the back side of this matting and then pull each one up to secure. Now you want to make sure that you're pulling the fabric with a kind of even amount of pressure along the whole distance of each side, especially if there's any pattern involved. If you stretch it too far, then you will distort the pattern on the fabric. So that's pretty much it for the outer part of our double matting. Once I flip it over, I just go back in just gently with my fingernail and push in the corners gently. Make sure everything's pushed down and secure. For my other two thrifted frames, I'm just using this utility fabric in a natural shade. It's got some variation in color, and despite how insanely cheap it was on sale at Joann Fabrics, it's going to turn out looking so expensive in my gold picture frame. After that, it's time to secure both parts of the matting, thus the double matting. I'm going to be using more spray adhesive and obviously hot glue. It dries so fast and it's easy to use, especially for this wonky frame inside a frame situation. I'm gonna be honest, you guys, this did not work. I'm including it because I just want you to know that when you are rehabbing a frame, especially a thrifted one, occasionally you're gonna come across random problems and you just have to be open to anything. Have your arsenal of DIY products and tools available to you. I thought for sure hot glue, and then I'll glue alongside the inside edge, but then I realized that dots of glue didn't even come close to securing the frame in place. It was actually a frame on its own. They just added it to be a second matting. So I went with the old standard duct tape, and I'm gonna tell you it worked out awesome, does not show, and you would never know inside of my beautiful finished product. Then I'm gonna bring back my gold spray painted inner matting, double checking those corners yet again. I'm a little perfectionist, can you tell? Go ahead with that hot glue, first in the corners, then around the rest of the perimeter. Push down to secure, so super simple. But once you get them on the wall, they look incredible and immediately elevate any little piece of art that you stick inside of these. After those last two projects, let's go for another easy one. This one is a no excuses kind of project. I'm using another IKEA Ribba frame. They're my favorites. And I have a challenge for you. I want you to stop hiding all of your beautiful travel photos on your phone, on your camera, and on your hard drive. It's time to pick one that means something to you, spend some time editing, print it at home or have it printed professionally, and toss it in a frame. Now I know it's coronavirus times and we don't all have brand new travel photos to inspire us, so I'm gonna take another Ribba frame. This one is in black, I believe it's 8 by 10, and I'm gonna put an online print in here. Now you can find tons of beautiful art and photographs through a quick Google search. Just look for something that has a Creative Commons license, meaning it's free to print, or look for something to purchase on Etsy. There's tons of artists selling digital prints. This one is, I believe, of the African savanna, printed in black and white. We print our smaller prints at home and our larger prints usually at the Costco print shop for super cheap, even for huge sizes. And this is such a quick and easy way to add something new to an old picture frame. All right, this last project is definitely my favorite, some watercolor landscape painting. So first I'm gonna trace the shape that I need to paint using my matting. Then I'll go ahead and sketch out a little beach scene here. These are very, very deceptively simple to draw. I always start with a horizon line about 1/3 from the bottom or 1/3 from the top, depending if I want to focus mostly on clouds or the land and water. Once I've got my sketch, I start to fill in the clouds with a mixture of white and brown. I'll link all of the paint colors I used in this palette below in the description box. I like to give some darker edging to my clouds to make them feel a little bit more in depth, and then starting to carve out with a little bit of variation in color, the blue of the ocean. I'm envisioning my favorite beach spot, Manzanita, here, and the millions of photographs I've taken that look similar to this. Washington beaches are generally hazy, so I've got a lot of white in my skyline. Then starting to plot out some of the darker areas of the sand, the hills in the background. It's really a process of layering when it comes to watercolors, and what's nice about them is if you did something that you don't like, you can rinse off your brush and then with your wet brush go back over it and remove the paint that you put in. With watercolor, the more water, the less color. The less water, the more color. So you can see I start with a very muted palette here. The boldest colors are in that blue of the water and that edge of the sand, but that's gonna be changing soon. Fast forward a little bit, now I'm adding a little bit more detail. I like to define my horizon line even with the skinniest little darker patch of color. Tiniest, skinniest little black line. There's just something that draws the eye when you do that. Moving into the next painting, this one's for the smallest frame. And I'm just gonna go in super fast forward so you can see how quickly the basics of this come together. I want to inspire you to get out a set of paints that you maybe bought but never used, or maybe place an order for one on Blick or Amazon. I'll link those below. I just want you to think about how you might be able to make one of these super simple abstract landscapes to brighten your space. This larger piece with the mountain is for the largest frame, and I'm just setting all the paintings side by side so I can make sure they'll look good hanging together once I frame them. Looking at them, it made me want to add a little bit more fine detail into the first two pictures. So you'll see here, I'm adding in a little bit more darker detail really in all the pieces so that they will really blend together and look like a set on my wall. A final round of white highlights where sun would naturally hit, and just about ready to wrap this one up. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you found at least one project that you're inspired to try this week. I try to include projects at every skill level, so if you're wary of painting and drawing, I hope I've got several options for you. And if you are interested in taking the plunge, I would highly encourage you to try out one of these artistic projects. Remember, try to think differently about your space. Even rehanging your existing art in different spots in your home can create a feeling of newness that we all could use right now. DIY art can be a fantastic solution, especially if you're in a large space that has a lot of walls to cover, and it's one of the easiest ways to make your home feel custom, feel expensive, and feel elevated. If you liked this video, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button and share this video with anybody that you think might enjoy it. That will really help to support this channel and help our design nerd community grow. I've been filming some early clips for some upcoming room makeover videos, and don't forget I've got brand new videos coming up for you each and every Sunday, including home decor, shopping tips, thrifting, DIYs, pretty much everything related to interior design. If you'd like to see more photos of my home, DIY projects, outfits, travel, other happenings, follow me on Instagram at Lindsay Living. Until next time, I challenge you to find at least one meaningful change you can make in your space this week. Bye, my friends.